Hey, Micheal, Logan, why don't you start off by giving us a little bit of background on you?
Started in the field in 1997, started as a level 1 technician in the telecommunications because, of course, that's how old I am. 97 wasn't really, too technologically sound back in 97. Then I moved up to management for that said company. In 2000, I actually decided that I could do this better and offer better customer service. Plus, the company was getting bought by a holding company, so I didn't want to go through all that. So I started Total BC in 2000.
Cool. And Logan?
Hey, Ben. So I figure you can say I started in 2011, probably at the ripe age of 12 years old, when I went on the first install with him for a customer that uses our hosted voice over IP company, and they're actually still a customer of ours. And it's kind of just been instilled in me in the last 6 years I've been back at TLBC, truly, of just how dedicated we are to customer service. And that's kind of just been hammered in from the start.
So, Micheal, I take it you're pro child labor. How did that work out for you?
At first, not very good. I've fired his mother. I fired his brother. I fired his cousin. And that was it.
Maybe you could start off with I think what's a really interesting dynamic here is you guys are a family business, right? Or right now it is, and you've had it in the past as well. I'm really curious about, obviously you started this yourself, Micheal, and then, at some point you brought Logan in, but I'd love to hear about those first family introductions, how they got into the business, and then, their departure from the business and how that went.
Yeah. Well, the first one would be his mom. She was the first one that got into it, and for lack of better terms, some dynamics do not work. So some think they, when you're working with family, on my side of viewing it is I've told them all, because Logan not only works with us, my older brother works with me, and one of my nephews works with me. So, and all of them know 8 to 5 is business. We could be throwing darts one moment, and I could be cussing my brother out the next moment. But after 5 o'clock, we're buddies. We're back family. But between that, no. So his mother didn't understand that dynamic, so that had to go. And one of my nephews, he was just too lazy, no work ethic, so he had to go. When Logan started, then my brother started with me 12 years ago, I guess it was, Logan, probably. And so he's been there for the real ramp up of everything, if you will, from going from a mom and pop shop to an actual company, and not saying anything negative about what size anyone is, but there's a lot more dynamics of that part of it, to where you're wearing 12 hats at one time. So my brother JR, he allowed me to wear all of those hats, and he handled just what he still does today, the dispatching, the customer service, and so forth, so on. So then Logan came along about 6 years ago, and
Logan is your son?
Yep. Yes. So he came about 6 years ago, and I thought it was important to, you can't just throw somebody. Nepotism is real, of course, but you don't want that to be portrayed to everybody. So he started out, slinging cable, installing phones, installing cameras, and he was a grunt. and then he moved to project management while still doing the other work, the engineer work. And now he's in his position of COO. And I think it has served him well because he knows all the products and services that we have. I mean, he knows some of them better than I do now, just because that's, he had to get in there and get his hands dirty. And he gained a respect.
How did you set that expectation when he came in? Did you say, here's the rule book for working with me? Like, walk me through like that, how you made that decision to allow him to come into the business with the previous experiences of, maybe it didn't work out with your wife working in the business and, a few other instances. How did you do that?
Well, Logan can probably talk on this a little bit more, but I treat everybody the same regardless. I remember when Logan came and lived with me for a summer, even though we were in the same city, when you go through divorce, whatever. And I said, hey, you're living here. It wasn't this father-son thing. It's like, we're living in the same house together. This is more like roommates. You take care, you clean your crap up. You do this, you do that. So I've always treated him as an adult ever since he was like 11 years old. And so when he came into, and because of that, I always had those conversations, those frank and upfront conversations with him. So when he came to work for me, it was like, hey, listen, this is how it's going to go. It's my way. And until you learn it and until you know what it is, and because a lot of people can talk the talk, but not walk the walk. So I didn't want to hear a lot of chatter when you really didn't know a lot of the stuff. So, I mean, at first, it was a little rough. But now looking back, I can say that, I comment all the time. It's been a lot of growth, a lot of maturing on his part. I personally think it happened when he became a father as well. So, he's got the responsibility. A lot of crap changes when you got 2 more mouths to feed.
I'm curious to hear your perspective in this as well, because, obviously it's a totally different position coming from, hey, I'm coming to work with my dad's company and I respect him a lot. And, he's done this for a long time, and you're coming in and, maybe start off with like, do you feel like you did get a fair shake when you came in? Like Micheal says you did?
We have 2 different kind of outlooks on it. I don't want to say I came in just loose, but I came from a very different field before coming here. And I was a pipe welder. I was a professional welder. That's all I did for a living, blue collar work. So I think that transition alone was a little strange, coming from working in the field every day, guys talking like sailors, and then coming into an office aspect of it and interacting with face-to-face customers every day was a little challenging at first. Obviously I wasn't used to filling out paperwork constantly, and Micheal can attest to that I was the absolute worst at filling out timesheets and tickets for the first 2 years that I worked here. And that's because initially they still worked on paper like they were dinosaurs, which was ridiculous. 6 years ago, filling everything out on paper was crazy. Anyways, but I would say definitely over the last 4 years, 3 or 4 years, is where I feel like I've seen the most growth, not only in myself, but also the working relationship between me and Micheal, me and JR, me and other technicians as well. It's kind of like I've made that transition a little more into a higher position. I mean, I don't really, Michael's the same way. Neither one of us like to say we're COO or we're CEO or anything like that. I mean, we work for Total BC. We work in Total BC just as much as everybody else. So there's no crazy hierarchy that we try to do or anything like that. So I don't feel like I've made some crazy change to where I'm, up higher or anything like that. I just feel like we're all getting along and working and mending a lot better together here in the last 3 years than we used to.
It sounded like maybe a change happened when you became a father. What inspired that?
definitely had a change when becoming a father. And I mean, it was pretty instantaneous. I think it was more of like, I mean, you're a father having a child, aren't you? One of the two? I can't remember.
Yeah,
My wife
I've got a 15-month-old. He's my first. Name is Archie.
That's right. That's right. So you know just as well as me and Michael do. The first time you hold that baby, it's like something changes in your head. Something looks down, and it's like, man, I'm never gonna let anything, come in between or affect any relationship in any way. And that includes work. And that includes going to work every day and doing your best and making sure you can provide not only at home but outside as well. And it gives you a new outlook on responsibility and kind of like other people you're responsible for as well. I mean, just brings a different aspect to life.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I wouldn't say it changed everything for me, but it like changed my focus and my clarity with what I wanted out of life.
Yeah, and Ben, you'll see that you'll go through the span of it, because mine was when Logan was born. It was this is who I'm working for now. And everybody in my family knows it. Even his mom knew it. It was like, forget me. It's him. So I was working to grow something for him. So I got into that thing to where I worked a lot, was working my butt off, building it and so forth, so on. But the good thing is now that we're to a point he can come in, and the things that I felt like I missed because I did work, 100 hours a week. Now I can work. I've been able to work less, of course, and we have a dynamic relationship, not only as father and son, but also as teammates for Total BC. So, so don't feel bad as you're growing and trying to build it for Archie, because there's a bright side to it.
Absolutely, I can only imagine what it's like. I also find it really interesting the family dynamics here and in family businesses. One of the things that my wife and I have talked about is, would we ever work together? And the answer is basically a resounding never would we work together in a professional capacity. One of the things that's inspired me because of that is I have a lot of entrepreneur friends, and I have a lot of them that have significant others in their businesses. And the success rate is not very high over the long run. That alone is like, okay, like let's separate church and state. For us,
and I would say my wife, and that's my wife works in the business now. Logan's wife works in the business, but I'm smart enough to know that what I didn't say to Logan and then my brother, what I didn't say before, I say now. And it's completely different. It's kind of like dating. I say it like this because, when I was dating, I was like, regardless, when you meet that person, you tell them exactly who you are, what you are. You don't do any of that playing, facade, and you just tell them straight out. And it worked well. My wife, before we got married, we dated for 10 years, and she's in the business now with my other businesses as well, and does the finances, and they just know what the hierarchy is, for lack of better terms.
Are you used to sitting on the top, Micheal?
Yes.
I'm very curious about the long term. Do you guys have a transition plan in place? Have you talked about it?
We have a transition plan. Have we discussed it? Yes, but it keeps getting pushed. To be honest with you, I'm 54, and I wanted to be honestly working 2-3 days a week. But the problem is, and it's not a problem, but the technologies, the growth of Total BC, and the growth inside of Total BC, and the growth of Logan, honestly, it's made me excited. All those together have made me excited, and I want to stay around and do a little bit more. But at the same time, I'm ready to take a step back, and I have talked about that a lot more in the last 6 months. But there's a couple more things I want to do for Logan and for Total BC, and then my retirement plan can go into place. So I'm hoping within a year.
Hi, I'm Ben Tigelaar, the host of MSP Owner Podcast and the CEO of DataTel, an IT managed service provider with 35 employees. The mission of this podcast is simple: to have authentic conversations with IT owners about their journey, how it started, the challenges they faced, and where they're going next. Every episode, I personally walk away with a new actionable item to strengthen my own business. But a quick word about my company, DataTel. We are actively acquiring MSPs who align with our service and culture. So if your company is generating between $1 and $10 million of revenue, I want to talk to you. But wait, you're probably thinking, why me and why DataTel? First is, I get you. I understand the challenges MSP owners face, being one myself, feeling overworked, overwhelmed, constantly being on call, struggling to bring in new business. I have the solutions and people in place to address these pain points. Second is culture. We run our business on EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System, which has been transformative for our employees and clients alike. I believe that building a great company comes down to finding and retaining great people who are in the right seats. Everything else is noise. If any of this resonates, it probably means we're a fit and we should be having a conversation. Until then, let's get back to the show. Logan, do you feel like you guys have a decent plan in place? Like, would you agree with his assessment there?
I would say, I'll take the wise words of Donald Trump. We have the concept of a plan in thought. We have the concept of what a plan is, maybe, actually. No, I mean, we've definitely discussed it in the past. You know, he gave me the spill when I first came to work here. You know, I got a 5-year plan and we're going to stick to it. And about a year into that, he was like, throw that out the window. Never mind. But no, it's not. I'm also not. Am I eager to maybe move in that position? Yeah. But I'm also not, you know, I'm not stressing out. I'm not trying to force my way into it or anything like that. I mean, I know as looking at it from his aspect, he's grown this for 24 years. I don't care what you do for 24 years. It's hard to let go of. It's hard to hand that off to somebody else. I mean, that's your, for lack of better terms, that's his other child that he's got. You know, I'm the favorite, but he's got a second, and he's trusting somebody else to take his kid from him out of nowhere and not burn it into the ground. And I don't blame him for being scared of it. I would be too. I couldn't imagine in 20 years when I'm handing it off to my oldest son. I don't know about that, but I understand the fear. But at some point, we got to work into it. And there's some things he's still got to teach me. Like you said, there's some things we got to work on. It's more of like back end side of the business. I feel like operations we're there, and then back inside it's just got to be taught at this point.
My dad is what you would call a workaholic. He loves to work, and he has ideas about retiring at some point. But you know, those dreams never come to fruition. Do you have fears that might happen with Micheal?
Oh, absolutely. Me and my wife have talked about it before, and she always makes the jokes. First off, him and my wife are so close, it's unreal. I question them two. She's got him saved in her phone as gay bestie because that's what she calls him, and that's how she loves him. And we talk about it all the time. And she says, she said, I'm not worried about you taking over or anything like that. 'Cause we both had the same discussion. We know we're fine how we are right now. That's not our priority. But she said, I don't think at any point he's going to truly hand it over until his hand goes below the dirt. Other than that, he's never getting out of it. I don't think he'll ever be fully out of it either. Because like I said, it's hard to let go of something until he's physically unable. I think he'll be a part of TOBC, and I have no issue with that. But don't be Jerry Jones.
Well, wait a minute. Let me go back to the gay bestie thing here. Not that being gay is a bad thing, but his wife says that I am. What does she say, Logan? She says that I am
the bougiest person she's ever met. And I promise you, you spend a day with this man and you'll be like, no, yeah, I see it.
I'm not bougie, but anyway. So
Do you know what was sitting behind him? Do you know what was sitting behind him, Ben, at his the laptop he was working at? A $6,000 massage chair that he purchased. Okay. Don't tell me you're not bougie and you have a full-blown massage chair in your house.
Hey, just because you like nice things doesn't mean you're bougie, Logan.
So Ben's bougie too. Got it.
maybe a little bit.
Yeah. So exactly. Yeah. I have neck problems.
I'm excited to see where you guys end up over the long run. It'll be interesting to see the path there. But I want to get into, I found it particularly interesting, the transition that you guys as a company took from being primarily a voice provider, service provider, into a fully managed IT provider, more comprehensive services in nature, right? I'm very curious about, given you started the company 24 years ago, and it's been 3 or 4 years since you started the fully managed IT. Can you talk to me about what inspired you to make that transition?
We moved to offering our voice platform, and I started tinkering with it because we were a 3Com dealer. Loved the 3Com system, and it was really the first LAN telephony system that was everything combined together. And sat in the office one time, and I'm like, if this can work over the LAN, why can't this work over WAN? And so, hence, I started playing with it. Then I started playing with other things like Asterisk servers and all that good stuff, just to learn the technology part of it. And and that was like in 2011, to be completely honest with you. And then I got our first server going up and so forth, so on. First server be on the Asterisk 100%. Tested, did some dummy accounts, and rolled out our first one to our first customer that Logan joined me with 2012. But then, as we found more and more that voice over IP was coming, and there was a lot of things on the IT side that was very predominant to being needed from it. And just the same way that other managed service companies have grown, they started out as maybe just being a break fix. We found there was a lot of those break fix people out there that, while they were good technical people, they weren't the proactive type. I bought an IT company. It was a small guy. Found out that our synergies weren't aligned, so I gave him back that IT company, and we started doing some things. Then I bought another IT company, and then that's when we started really seeing. And this was probably about 7 years ago, I guess. And they were a real, a managed service, but not really using the right tools and so forth, so on.
So really, you got in. You wanted to you acquired to get into the business rather than starting it up yourself. Just because of why is that?
Well, it because you have to be smart enough to know what you don't know. So when I purchased the one company, they had a bright IT guy. And that's the same reasons why we do our coaching. We have some coaches and so forth, so on for our industry, because I wanted to do it right instead of doing it wrong, because you're going to lay the foundation. You're going to train people how you do things, and come back a year later and say, "Oh, guys, I was all wrong. This is not how you do it. Let's go back and do it this way." It was something unlike on the voice side that I knew like the back of my hand. I didn't really know how to effectively run and manage a managed service company and the tech stack and things of that nature. So we did it for two things. All of our customers kept asking us, "Do you do this? Do you do this?" Why? Because our service response was so much better on our voice side than they ever received from their IT people. And and it's just a natural progression. Everything is going to IoT.
The response time was identified by your clients as like really important. How did you think about that? Like, what is the typical response time that you had in your mind that was like exceptional compared to the competition?
Back in the day, before voice over IP, it was the same day. Voice over IP, but with our voice over IP solution, I would say that our response time, average response time, because some things are, you have to get a phone out there and so forth, so on. But on a normal, hey, I have this change that I want made, it's probably less than 42 minutes.
So the competition was taking much longer than that to respond to a typical request.
Yeah, if they even responded the same day, probably was the next day. And that's the same thing we find with some managed service companies right now. I mean, we will, one of our clients will call us and it's like, hey, you need to talk to your IT company about this because this is what's causing it. And we check back with them the next day and say, well, we sent them an email or we put in a ticket. We haven't heard from them yet, which is crazy. Even on our managed service side, we have less than an hour response time.
That's for across all tickets, all severity levels, under an hour.
Yes.
Do you break down the response time internally as like what your expectations are, like to employees? Like, hey, critical needs to be responded in this amount of time. Like, how do you organize that internally?
I would say we do that a little differently than some companies do. I know a lot of MSPs kind of let the technicians triage tickets. It goes straight to technicians. It goes to an unassigned board, and they start working it. Where we do it a little differently. It comes into our dispatch board. We have two people that are dispatchers assign tickets accordingly to what a tech is capable of, and it's kind of they make the decision on it of priority. But we always prioritize customers' contracts first and foremost. I mean, if you pay us monthly, you're going to get highest priority. Downs, anything down is obviously highest priority, and then it just falls in that typical progression rate that But I mean, there's never been a time I think that a client submitted a ticket and we're not immediately responding to them from at least the dispatch point of view of, hey, we've received your ticket, we see it. We're getting it scheduled. The technician might not start working on it, but another 2-3 hours, we see it, we have it scheduled, we have you prioritized. For everything, we respond to it. And that's the biggest thing is our customers always know that we're there. They always know that we respond to them. They know that we've seen it and that we're actively working it. We don't want to be the company that the customer has to call and leave a voicemail for, or submit an email or a ticket online and just wait 6 hours until a technician responds to it. It's not how we do it.
Yeah, unacceptable from your standards.
Yeah, communication is key, and communication and setting the expectations. For example, if they call, Ben, you've probably been through this. They'll call and say they'll put in a ticket. Well, but at the same time, you reach back out to them, and they're like their urgency wasn't expressed exactly in the ticket. But when you talk to them, you see it's more of a sense of an urgency, and vice versa. If it's like, they're not here till tomorrow anyway, so you can't talk to them today. So that's why we do it on the dispatch side. And let's just face it as well, doing it on the triage where the technicians can pick it up. Guess what? They all have their favorites, and because of that, their unfavorites might not get addressed, and that's not fair to those clients.
And from a calling perspective, if a client calls in, do they leave a ticket or do they get connected directly to an engineer?
So it's really dependent on not only the ticket, our availability of technicians as well. I mean, I would say 90% of the time have at least 1 to 2 technicians available at any point that you call, whether it's our actual designated technicians or even me or Micheal picking up the phone sometimes to help a customer pretty quickly. But I would say, I mean, a big thing is that you always are going to talk to somebody at see. You're never going to get a voicemail to leave or anything like that. You're never going to be waiting for 10 minutes to talk to an employee for the first time or anything like that. You press our option for service, somebody's answering the phone every time. We'll take care of you. There's plenty of times where we put somebody on hold in a matter of 1-2 minutes. Technicians working on that too. So it's really just dependent on availability, but it's definitely a big possibility.
Yeah, we view it as if the customer took the time to, because everybody likes to communicate via email, right? So if the customer took the time to actually pick up the phone and call, it's a little bit more important. Let's just say, and if they're going to take time out of their day to call, we can take our time out of our day to speak with them and resolve it. And we'll be honest with them. If it's like, hey, we are slammed, or we got 3 people on a down system, we will call you right back. And they appreciate it. Nobody likes to leave a voicemail for, ever try to call around for an HVAC guy or whatever, and you're just leaving voicemail after voicemail after voicemail. Like, nobody wants to do that.
Yeah, really, really frustrating. And are you guys on Kaseya, or what is your PSA? ConnectWise?
Yeah, we were with ConnectWise, but now we are with Autotask and Kaseya. We've been with them for almost 3 months now, actually. So far, we're enjoying it. I mean, obviously, still working out our kinks and trying to get everything fully set up, but the setup process was miles ahead of what we received from ConnectWise, unfortunately. But we're still in the learning curve, not only us, but technicians, dispatch, billing side, everything of it. But overall, we like it so far.
I'm especially curious about the, transitioning from voice to IT, and obviously having core competencies in both. Do you cross-train all of your technicians to do both sides, or do you have different folks focused on different things and specializing?
This is where you see the maturity of me allowing him to step back. We actually had this conversation about 2 days ago. Mine was cross-train everybody knowing, and there's a way of thinking about it. If you cross-train, if someone leaves, someone's sick, someone on vacation, someone else can pick up the slack. Logan and them convinced me, and I let him talk about his thoughts of it, but having more focused people might be a smarter way, and they weren't working on something, then someone else throws them something else. So I'll let Logan talk on that part.
Like you said, we've always focused on cross-training, which I think was fine for us, especially when we were doing mainly VoIP and doing, small IT things here and there. It worked great. We had no issue with it. Now that we're growing to be a larger, or not larger, but growing into a bigger MSP at this point, to where we're trying to take care of more and more customers on both the voice side and the MSP side. It's not realistic to have everybody be able to do all of it. Unfortunately, it's not. There's too many tickets. There's too many variety of it. There's too many people, too many times where we're working on a server and we have 2 or 3 people working on servers or down customers. And then suddenly a callnet ticket comes in and our dispatch is like, hey, I need somebody to take care of this. Hop off this server real quick, or hop off this install you're doing to change a name on a phone. I'm like, no, we're not doing that anymore. So we are working towards the steps now, whether we have to hire more, which I'm sure we're going to have to, is building designated teams, more of like level 1, level 2, level 3. And we're going to have our level 1 technician. And we all know level 1 is pretty basic stuff. And so is majority of voice over IP. So that will all be level 1. And then we'll have our level 2 technician that does, your average networking. Level 3, they handle servers, NAS devices, stuff like that. Like I said, we're working towards that. We've always done the kind of potluck of, jack of all trades, of every technician trying to get that. But it's definitely getting to the point now we're seeing that it's going to start hurting us more than it's helping us. And that's what we don't want.
So you're hitting an inflection point with your growth and your client needs, and you're having to make adjustments to your model in order to meet the demands. And everyone can't just be a jack of trades. You got to have some people that ultimately specialize. How do you do that? How do you get the right resources in place? Like I can only imagine.
And one of the biggest things, what really, honestly, just the only one thing that really throws a kink into it is the projects. We're unlike most voice over IP providers. We don't ship a box of phones. A technician actually goes out, installs, trains on site, and so forth, so on. So, that takes that person out of the field for a day. I mean, out of the office for a day. Then we have our camera systems. That takes the person. So that's what's kicking us in the tush, if you will, or we're getting busier and busier and busier. And whether we're doing an install for a call net, cameras, access control, or just moving a client from one location to another, that is where my thought process of cross-train everybody came into play. But I can see Logan's point to where it's a detriment in some cases as well.
And revenue and employee count right now, where are you guys at?
We're like 2.3 million, and we're 13 employees. Correct, Logan? Yeah, total.
13 including us and marketing and sales and everything. We're 13.
And what are your growth aspirations? Like, what do you guys think is possible over the next few years, whatever horizon you think about, like where you want to take the business?
So obviously everybody's always looking to grow. We have kept a pretty steady growth rate of, Michael, I think it's 7% every year. We're close to that of what our revenue is just about every year. And we're trying to keep that. I mean, that's obviously a pretty good growth rate. And we're trying to do it, but not outgrow ourselves. So we're having our limitations. We've always run a skeleton crew, and that's because of the cross training as well. And it's worked for us. It always has. The fear is we're now getting into the larger clientele, where we're looking at one right now. We've been in talks with them for almost 2 months now. They have 1,400 users. We're going to need a team dedicated to just them. That's the breakdown of, can't cross train with that. That's a huge spike in our revenue getting them, but we're going to need to hire at least one or two more people to handle that and not affect our day to day just on it. So we're going to do a breakdown and maybe assign customers. It's something we're exploring still.
Nice. So it sounds like you guys would be happy with 10% growth a year, keep the train moving, have steady growth. You're not looking to double the business in 3 years.
We're always looking for acquisitions. So that could be.
What do you look for in an acquisition?
Customer base is the number one thing we look for in acquisitions, at least from what me and Michael have discussed. There's a lot you can take from a business, but there's a lot of ways you can improve the internal side of a business. But if there's no customer base there, it's hard to justify. Sorry, Michael, I'm good.
No, you're fine. No, we have been, because we do a lot of things. And once again, we don't resell anybody's voice over IP product where we have our own. It is a lot easier for us to take a company, let's say someone that's been in the business and they're nearing retirement, and all they've ever done was, traditional phone systems and so forth, so on. We like those because we know their clients have to move to it. So, and we opposed to a company that just started a voice over IP company. Let's face it, they don't have to be too smart. A voice over IP provider, all I do is voice over IP, because they're just reselling somebody else's product and branding it for them and so forth, so on. I always say growing the business and stuff. We had IT guys and we had traditional telephone system guys we're talking like the Nortel Meridians, the big systems. I can make a phone guy, an IT guy, faster than I make an IT guy a phone guy, because in the phone system world, there wasn't boxes that you were inside. For example, when you open up a Sonic Wall router, when you're programming a VLAN, you know what to do. A phone system of a great size, of like a Meridian 81 that would do 2,500 extensions, it's like a piece of paper sitting down, and you have to program everything. You have to program it from the ground up. I mean, it's not just a checkbox. Yes, it's not like how voice over IP systems are now, where Logan alluded to, that you don't have to be as smart.
Yeah, they used to be a lot more complicated to maintain, create, manage, and go forward. They're just a lot easier because these VoIP systems just make it simple, becoming more commoditized. Are you proactively looking for acquisitions, or is that something where you're opportunistically like doing it if something comes across your plate?
No, I'm proactive. Matter of fact, I have a call about 12:30 about one. So
cool. That's awesome. I'm excited to see what sort of stuff you've got on your plate going forward with that. And integrations are always fun. We're going through one right now with my recent acquisition, so I'm thinking about that a ton. When was your last acquisition?
3 years ago.
Yeah, it's been about 3. We just passed the 3-year mark.
And you're glad you did it? You think it was a huge positive?
It was a positive in the long run. You have to be careful now. And like I said earlier, we own a couple of different companies outside of IT. And we bought other companies outside of IT. But the IT side of things, you can't go on, for example, a customer, you had that trust and that you're going to do the right thing. The customer, you can't go on that. You have to double check and everything, because I got some serious anxiety for the first 6-7 months because of some things that I found out. I mean, it was horrible, and I was like, oh man. But to Logan and JR, my operations manager, we cleaned it up. Customers are happy. Did we lose some? Yes. And there was, of no fault of Total BC's, but of the fault of some of the things that happened during it. So
got it. So we had a little messiness during the transition, some skeletons in the closet that you had to uncover and solve, because that's what you do?
Yes. Nice. But they all say now, we've never had a better response time than we ever have now, from you guys, than the previous client.
Is that what you tell new prospective clients is why they should go with Total BC? Like what are the 2 or 3 things why they want to pick Total BC over the competition?
Logan and everybody laughs, but I speak on analogies all the time. See, he's laughing already. So I was at the customers yesterday, at a new prospective client yesterday, and we were talking about it. And I told him, I was like, it's just the little things that we do. As I walked in, they had a bunch of Amazon boxes. Like, you get dropped off boxes, everything of those. Ours is customer service, 100%. You could see that by, calling into our office and being able to talk to somebody. Test it out. Call us at midnight, press the emergency, see who answers. Somebody's going to answer, and it's not somebody in another state. It's one of us. Talk to some of our clients. It's anybody. I normally hold up a pen. I said, anybody can sell you this pen. We're the people that when you run out of ink, we walk over there, unscrew the cap, put some more ink in it, screw it back on, and hand it back to you. So that's our customer service side. We worry about the products, but at the same time, we don't make the products. If a Lenovo laptop dies, we can't help that. But what we can help is what we do about it for you.
Customer service response time.
Yep. It's 100%. If you do that, everything else will fall into line. 100%. How many times have you could take anything in a bad situation and treat that person with kindness or whatever. Think of anything and it's like, hey, how this lady treated me at the store or how this person treated me there, it made things better. So sometimes you can't help what happens, but you can help how you make the customer feel and how you calm them down and say, don't worry, I know your server just blew up, but we have your immutable backups and we're going to have you spun up here within the hour. I can't help their server blew up, but I can tell you and make you sleep good at night when you go home that by the time I come in at 8 a.m., it's going to be like before the server blew up. So
it's awesome. Well, I've known you, Micheal, for, I don't know, a year and a half now, and it's been awesome to hear your story, and you've been personally extremely helpful to me and my business, and feedback and ideas and what we're going to do, and acquiring this new company. So props to you for being an awesome dude, and I hope you let Logan trail or blaze the path, I should say, into helping you lead the company forward to do even better things in the future for your clients. So it's awesome. Thanks for joining me, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.